Hi, welcome to my video on find the equation in general form from a graph. Let's do some examples, and again you can pause the video and work these out before I do to see if you understand what you're doing. Here we go. Find the equation in general form for each. Number one, we have a graph here, and we want to write it in the general form, but what we have to do is write it in the X-Intercept form. So I just write down X-Intercept is a binomial to a power and a binomial to a power, and keep on going. So to do that, we go y, a, and the X-intercept here is a plus 3, so that's a 3. So that means that's an x minus 3. And because it's tangent, and it's a parabola shape, and it's bouncing off here, that's the vertex, so that's a square. Now we plugged another point in, so we have the point which is 2, negative 1. So x is 2, y is negative 1, y is negative 1, and x is 2. So we plug that into the equation, and we solve for a. So we have to do the inside first, which is a negative 1 squared. We have the square next, which is 1. So a becomes negative 1. So the equation is y equals negative, a is negative 1, so it's the negative of x minus 3 squared. That's in the factored form. We want it in the general form, so y equals, and we can square this very fast. We can say x, remember the square is like this, so it's an a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. So we take the first term we squared, we multiply x times negative 3 and double it, so it's a negative 6x, and we square the negative 3 to get a 9. And then we do the negative of that, we get negative x squared plus 6x minus 9. That's the general form that represents this equation. And you can also, if you want, from here, instead of knowing this pattern, you could have had y equals, and you could have said of x minus 3 times x minus 3, and you could have done the FOIL on this, which would have ended up to be this, and then you do the negative, so either or. But it's nice to know this quick pattern. When you square a binomial, it's the first term squared, it's the last term squared, and then it's the product of these two doubled. Whatever this product is, you just double it. That gives you the square of that binomial. Number two, we have the same equation. We have to get the factored form, and this is, that's a negative 2, and that's a 1. That's 2, 3, 4. That's a 4. So we have negative 2, so that's an x plus 2, because the x-intercept is negative 2, so the bracket as a factor got an x plus 2. That's a 1, so it's an x minus 1. And that's a 4, so this is an x minus 4. Again, the x-intercepts in the brackets is the opposite to the intercepts. And that's a linear, so that's a 1. That's a linear going on through, so that's a 1. And that's a linear going on through, so that's a 1. So we have all the powers put in. Now we need to get the a. So it's going through a point. And what point is it going through? Well, we have going through this point right here. And we have this intercept here is an 8. So that's a 8. So the point is x is 0, y is 8 to get the a. So y is 8 and x is 0. So 8 is, now we put the 0 in for x, and we got a 2, negative 1, and a negative 4. So 8 equals, and that's a negative positive, 8a divided by 8. So a is equal to 1. So the equation is y equals 1. Put a 1 here, and we just put the 1 in, but it's understood. Now we have to change it to, this is the factored form, we have to change it to the general form. So the general form is x plus 2. Now we take this and multiply by FOIL, again the fast way, x times x, x squared. And the outside is negative 4x, inside is negative 1x. So add is a negative 5x, and the last is negative 1 times negative 4 is 4. And now we multiply the binomial times the trinomial, and we get x multiplied by these three here, these three terms. So x times x squared, x times negative 5, x, and x times 4. Now we go 2 times x squared, 2 times negative 5, and that gives me negative 10x, and 2 times 4 is 8. And we could group like terms, or we can take our time and say the leading term is x cubed. Then we have our x squareds, which is negative 5, and 2 is negative 3x squared. Then we have our x's, which is negative 6x, and then we have our constant term. So that's the trinomial, or sorry, that's the cubic polynomial that represents this graph. So we did the factored form first and then expanded it out, and we got the cubic. Remember, this is a cubic because this degree is 1, a 1, and a 1. So the degree is 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. So when you multiply all that out, you get a leading power of 3, which means it's a cubic. Okay, let's continue and do a few more. Don't forget to pause the video and work these out. And we need the factored form, which is a. And we have right here, that's a negative 1. And that's a 2. So factored form, that's an x minus, that's a minus 1 for x-intercept, so there's an x plus 1. This is a 2, so this is x minus 2. And this is a linear at 2, degree is 1. And a bouncing off is a parabola, so it's a double root, so that's a square. Now we have to take the point. And what point do we have? Well, we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, so that's a 4 right there. So that point right there, x is 0, y is 4. Put 4 in for y, and 0 in for x. And solve it for a. 4. And we do the bracket, which is 1. Do the bracket, which is negative 2. Then we square next, which is 1. And we multiply negative 2 and divide by negative 2. So a is equal to negative 2. So we put that in our equation. So y equals a is negative 2. And we fill in x plus 1 squared, x minus 2. And now we expand it. So we can do a few things. We have negative 2. We can square this first if you want. And again, if you square that, let's see. You take that binomial, so this is a binomial being squared, so you take the first term and square it, and you multiply these two and double it, so that's 1 times x is 1x, double it is 2x, square root of 1, we get a 1, and now we can go trinomial times this binomial, and leave the negative 2, or if we leave the negative 2 there and multiply these out, we take the x squared and multiply by x and negative 2, we get x cubed minus 2x squared. Then we take the 2x and multiply by x minus 2, we get negative 2x squared minus 4x. Then we take the 1 and multiply by x minus 2, which is positive x minus 2. And we simplify that, makes it easier, so we get an x cubed. And the x squareds cancel out. We get a negative 3x minus 2. And then we multiply by negative 2 by the trinomial. We get negative 2x cubed plus 6x plus 4. And this is the factored form. This is the general form representing that. We expanded it out. Just reviewing, and the more practice you get, the better you become. That's true in math. Practice, practice, practice makes you better. And another one to do, we got y, a, and the x-intercept here is a 0. So that's just an x. There's no bracket, don't need a bracket. I could put a bracket here, but if I go x minus 0, that's the same as x. Another x-intercept here is 2, so that's an x minus 2. And that's notice that's right here. That's a parabola bouncing off, so that's a square tangent. And coming down from here, we have sideways s, so that's a cube. That right there represents the x being cubed. And we need to get the a, so this we have a x-intercept is 0, but we need another point, so this point right here is 1, 4. So y is 4 and x is 1. Sub that in, and we work the inside of the brackets first. Done. Then we do the powers. 1, 1. So a becomes 4. So a is 4, so y equals 4. A is 4, put 4 back in. And now we have to expand it. And we'll do the, now we're going to square this fast. So we got a binomial being squared again. So we square the x to get x squared. We multiply these two. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x doubled, negative 4x. And negative 2 squared is 4. And now we take the monomial times these. We get 4x to the 5 minus 16x to the 4 plus 16x cubed. Remember, when you multiply an exponent, you add. And this is the factored form. This is the general form representing that graph. And one more to do. And again, the general form here, factored form. And we have, that's a 0, negative 1, that's a negative 2, and that's a 1. And so we have, that's a minus 2, so this is a plus 2. That's a 1, so this is x minus 1. And notice right here, it's a tangent, it's bouncing off, so that's a square. And notice here, it's bouncing off at the negative 2, so that's a square on these binomials. And we need another point. We need to get the a. So this point right here is x is 0, y is, that's negative 4. So y is negative 4, and x is 0. So we sub 0 in for x, and we work the brackets first. Then we work the powers next. And we simplify the right side. Divide by 4. Divide by 4. So a is negative 1. So we put the negative 1 in the equation. So y equals negative x plus 2 squared, x minus 1 squared. So that's the factored form right there, with a being negative 1. 1 is understood. Now we have to expand this. So let's take our time. Leave the negative alone. So that's a square. So let's do this square and this square. So we square. Remember, when you take a binomial and square it, you square the first one, get get the product, 2x, double it, and square the last one. Again, we're doing the square of the binomial, so the square of the x is x squared. Product is negative 1x doubled, negative 2x, and we square negative 1 to get a 1. And now we have a trinomial times a trinomial. So we just take our time and expand it. So the x squared is multiplied by the 3 of these. So here we go. X squared times x squared, x to the 4th. X squared times negative 2x, negative 2x cubed. X squared times 1 is x squared. Now we multiply the 4x by the 3 of these. So 4x times x squared is a plus 4x cubed. 4x times negative 2x, negative 8x squared. 4x times 1 is 4x. Now we multiply the 4 by this trinomial. So 4 times x squared, 4 times negative 2x, 4 times 1 is 4. And it's nice, I always simplify the inside first. So x to the 4th power is the highest power. And we do the cubes. And we have 2 cubes here, negative 2. And 4 is a plus 2x cubed. So just keep track of them because there's so many. Now we have to do the squares. 1, 8, negative 7. 4 is negative 3. X squared. And they're gone. Now we have to do the x's, which is negative 4x. And we do the constant. So after all that's simplified, then we do the negative of all these, multiplied by negative 1. So negative x to the 4th, negative 2x cubed, plus 3x squared, plus 4x minus 4. And that's the trinomial that represents this graph. And again, just extra practice. We came up with the equation and then we expanded. So I'm always reviewing the skills that we learned earlier. And that brings us to the end of the video. If you like my video, click the like button. Click the subscribe button. If you're not a subscriber, visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find more information about me, my videos, and the content. And that's the content that's on my YouTube channel called Math Fully Explained. Thank you for viewing my video. Bye-bye.